Hey y'all, welcome to the fourth take. Today I'm gonna do a different video, which I'm gonna do actually a discussion, a rant video. It's gonna be pretty different from the usually scripted ones. So I've got a couple of talking points I'm gonna address here. But probably at the end of last week, I actually watched the Nintendo Super Mario 35th Anniversary Direct, and you know what? I was actually pretty impressed, surprised, and happy. Um, they actually made a bundle, Super Mario 3D All Stars, right? As you all know it. And I was actually pretty hyped. I actually want to get the game since I only played a little bit of Super Mario 64, right? I played it in the DS, but I also played it on an emulator. I want to play Sunshine. Obviously, it's a hit. Lots of people say it's good. Same goes with Galaxy, one of the greatest games of all time, yada yada. So my issue is actually, why Nintendo? Why did you limit the length of time for when you can purchase this game up until March 2021? For 3 games that are some of the best not even Mario Adventures games in the industry that has ever been released, why would you release it in such a limited time? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is not something that you can really defend. Why? Because March 2021 is actually, as Yong Ye pointed out, it's actually the end of the first quarter for 2021. So, this move is undoubtedly a move in order for Nintendo to stimulate sales and create artificial scarcity, as it's called, because fans like me, who are otherwise not in a hurry to get the game, would rush to actually buy the game before March 2021. And as a result, Nintendo has a good financial statement, or whatever you want to call it in business terms, for their first quarter, possibly in order to incentivize people to buy their stocks and shares and whatever. But the problem here is, it's not something that you can defend. Yes, this collection is a blessing, sort of. It's better to have it this way than to not be able to play the 3 of those games at all, right? Yeah, but as gamers, as a community, we need to be able to push Nintendo as a company, because we need them to improve. This is not something that makes sense, I think, not even for Nintendo, other than for short-term profits, because we are in a pandemic and lots of people are cash strapped, I would say, and unable to buy this collection. And it's quite a shame, actually, because Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy is some of the greatest games probably that you could ever play. I mean, look up the Metacritic for Super Mario Galaxy. It's insane, right? It's very high 90s. It's insane, right? For Nintendo to do such an anti-consumer move, it's disappointing, to be honest. And not only that, their price, $60 for 3 games, right? If you buy this game used, as the fans would say, used copy would cost above $100, right? But that's because of the scarcity, because Nintendo doesn't really like to release most of their older hits into their newer consoles. Like, for example, we can't play Super Mario 64 on the Wii U. We can play it on DS, but that's a light version. It's not exactly the same copy. We can't play Super Mario Sunshine on the Wii U, and the only way for us to play Super Mario 64 and the 2 other games for Nintendo Switch is to spend $60 It's for $60 at the end of 2020, we can spend on other games like Marvel's Avengers. We can spend on other games like Cyberpunk 2077. And undoubtedly, these games are more technically sound, obviously, and much more value in terms of budget and etc. Higher cost to make and etc. But as gamers, I'm uh I'm mostly a PC gamer, right? But I bought the Switch because I think it's interesting. I think to be able to play anywhere is actually a good incentive to buy the console. But as a PC gamer, you and I should be familiar that older games, especially a 24-year-old game, which is older than me, Super Mario Sunshine, which is as old as me, costs $20 each in a $60 bundle. And you can't even buy them for $20 each. Right? And the problem for me is, it's not like Nintendo added anything new of value to the games, right? The Nintendo fans would call this a remaster, but I think that's the loosest definition of a remaster that you can give, right? Because essentially what Nintendo did is upscaling. They didn't replace the texture with newer designs that fit the art style, like what they did with Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. Oops. Which prices $20, which I think it's pretty fair actually, because they actually added a 3D feature. The textures are actually like changed, given more detail, and not just given like a HD resolution like Super Mario 3D All-Stars, because essentially these textures are the same, right? But it's just you bump up the resolution so that it'll look prettier in newer consoles. Why wouldn't it be? It's not something like upscaling for this collection. It's not an added feature, guys. It's not an added feature, because for a collection to release of very old games, upscaling is obviously something that you must expect, right? You must expect an upscaling. And for Nintendo, it doesn't take them that much money actually to upscale these games, because using a PC emulator, you can upscale these games much more than the resolutions will appear on the Nintendo Switch, right? You can upscale them to whatever resolution you like. Which is sad, really, because for $20 for a 24-year-old game, and you can't even buy them for $20, you have to buy them for $60, it's disappointing, right? I want to discuss the effort made by Nintendo here, but there's not much effort that they actually put in. They just port the game, upscale it, compile them in one collection, and slap a $60 price. There's really not much value here, other than the games itself. But the games itself has been made years ago, obviously. Credit to the developers back then. But as far as the collection, Nintendo doesn't really put much effort into it. If you give me an option, right, to purchase with my $60 Cyberpunk or Super Mario 3D All-Stars, I think it should be clear which game you should buy. And it's actually quite sad, right? Because I want to play this game, but the price tag, these games, the price tag just doesn't seem sensible for me. And most for you fans that say, well, maybe this collection is just for you. But well, then that misses the point. The collection of the purpose of this collection is so that newer people like me that didn't essentially grow up buying the GameCube. I own the Wii, but I didn't play Super Mario Galaxy. Yes, that's quite shameful, but the point of the collection is to get as many new players as possible to be able to enjoy these classic games, right? So you can't say that this collection is not for me. If this collection was cheaper, if this collection was, for example, $40, I would have been making I would make a video crying out loud for you to purchase this collection for sure. And for people that are considering that has a Nintendo Switch but are financially cash strapped right now because of the coronavirus, it's shameful for Nintendo to essentially push them out so that they cannot purchase this game in the future beyond March 2021, but also because the game is not really accessible. It's a standard game price, right? It's not exactly worth the $60 value. For 3 games, yes, 3 legendary games that are of course priced $60 at release. Nintendo fans would argue that it's worth the price. Besides, buying it used would be more horrendous, right? It would be more expensive. But no, the reason that the used prices are so expensive is because Nintendo hasn't really been releasing these games over the past few years, and that's a shame. Right, you can't just equate games from 24 years ago, 18 years ago, and 13 years ago to the prices of current games at release. It's not like a copy of Super Mario 64 is as worth as Marvel's Avengers for $60. No, right? You should know that technology, it devaluates over time. So when you go on Steam and you see these games, right, like some of the greatest games you'll ever play, The Witcher, goes on sale for like $7, right? And The Witcher is still relatively new compared to these 3 games, and it sells for only $7, right? Like, CD Projekt Red actually fulfills their purpose of trying to get as many players as possible to be able to enjoy The Witcher 3. But Nintendo sticks with their pricing scheme of $60 for every game, right? Which again is a whole nother issue that I have a problem with, right? Games like New Super Mario Bros. Deluxe Wii U, for example, is just a 2D platformer and costs $60. Wow. Like, for me, I want to be able to fill my Switch with a library of great Nintendo games, and I have a lot of them. Zelda, Smash Bros, Pokemon, Shield, Odyssey, Mario Party, Mario Kart, etc. And they're all worth the $60. But the smaller releases, not even small releases, just the smaller releases like that one, Super Mario Bros. Deluxe Wii U, or Mario Maker, for example, Mario Maker 2, is a $60 game, which is essentially a world building game, right? Most of the time you need to be able to go online to be able to look up player design levels and to be able to play them. Like, that's the main gimmick of Mario Maker 2. But you need to get Nintendo Switch Online to be able to go online and play the main feature of the game, right? Like, so if you want to enjoy Mario Maker 2 to its fullest extent, you have to pay $60 game for basically like a mod maker, a world maker with a campaign, right? There's a campaign with a couple hundred levels, if I'm not wrong. But that's definitely not the main feature. You have to purchase not only the game, which is pretty expensive for what it's worth, and a subscription, right, my friends? That's not real. That's not really a pro gamer move, I would say, right? And that's my issue with Nintendo. I mean, their pricing is pretty off for me if you compare them to other game developers, game studios, right? And the problem is Nintendo can get away with this, right? They are a juggernaut as a game company, and they deserve it. They single-handedly saved the video game industry in 1983. So no Nintendo, no games, right? Very simple. But we must, as a new Nintendo fan, I want to tell you, fellow other Nintendo fans, fanboys or super fans, to please don't become complacent with this practice, right? Because we need to be able to get as many people on the Nintendo boat as possible. We need to be able to pull more people from the general populace to be able to enjoy these legendary games, right? We want to share our experience with them. We want them to share their experience, their Nintendo love, and we only want to grow the fan base, right? But we can't do it with these type of practices, like the pricing, the limited release. It's just unacceptable, and I think for you, most Nintendo fans are complacent, which is pretty mind-boggling for me. Which is why I urge you to please stop drinking the Kool-Aid, as rude as it may sound, right? It's kind of a gross comparison, but Nintendo is kind of like the Apple in gaming, like not as egregious in terms of greed to that extent, but like their prices are overpriced. The Switch at release was as expensive or more expensive than the PS4 and the Xbox One at release, which is crazy considering that the Nintendo Switch is not that powerful. Even their AAA games like Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, which is worth all of the $60, I would tell you, costs only $10 million to make. It's still an insanely fun game, but for a modern game, right, there needs to be more value put into it, right? You need more voice acting. You need to be able to create a stronger hardware, better specs, right? And it's sad for Nintendo to be able to just price gouge you like this, right? It's either $60 or nothing. There's rarely any discounts, right? You can buy used games, but there's rarely any discounts for Nintendo games, even in their stores, right? Zelda is still $60 and it's still worth $60 for me. Super Mario Odyssey is still $60, it's still worth $60 to me. But it would be more appreciated if Nintendo can lower the price to, for example, $50 or $45, right? That would be more appreciated. So, to end the video, to recap the video, I still love Nintendo. I hope that they won't release this type of pricing and collection limitations like this for their collections for the future, because I want to play more old Nintendo games in my Nintendo Switch, right? I want that to be able to play all Nintendo games throughout the ages, right? And just play them anywhere, right? Yeah. So for my solutions, actually remaster the game, right? um, give it a whole new fresh coat of paint, not just upscaling, because you can upscale in emulators and you can do it for free, even though it's illegal, right? Actually remaster the game, either that, um, if they actually remaster the game, fresh new coat of paint and everything, retaining the art style, of course, or maybe just recreate the game in a newer engine, right? It would be worth $60, right? The second solution would be give the players option $20 for each game, right? I played Mario 64. I don't want to play it again. I want to play Super Mario Galaxy because I haven't played it. I want to play Mario Sunshine. Why wouldn't you give me the option, right? It's mind-boggling. It's obviously a pro-corporate move what they're doing here, just bundling up $60 without giving us the option. It's kind of disappointing for a company that I love so much. The other option would be to actually keep everything as it is, limitations and all, and just price the collection at $45. $45 max, right? It would be ideal if it would be $40, but $45 would be pretty acceptable, right? $15 for each game, $5 difference, to be honest, but it's still way cheaper than $60. There's still way more value for you to be able to purchase the game at $45, other than a standard price where you can use that same amount of money to be able to play newer games. Not only like AAA Cyberpunk or Avengers type of games, or Infinite or something like that, but upcoming Nintendo games, right? Yeah. And one of the last solutions is to actually, this is actually the least in terms of the impact that the solution will give, would be to remove the limitation. Right, Nintendo? Why would you need to limit the amount of players that you will eventually gain for this collection just to bolster your first quarter of 2021 financially, right? It's just wrong, right? It's not a pro gamer move. And my other solution is to actually push Nintendo, voice your concerns, push Nintendo from actually doing stuff like this, right? Fans, like, that's the least that we can do. We should tell these corporations, because mind you, these are corporations. Yes, they are game makers of some of the games that you cherish, that you love, that makes your childhood, but they are companies, they're corporations, and their duty, first and foremost, is to make money. And it's clear from this decision that's their first priority, right? So, yeah, just the first step that we can do is just to recognize that this is a wrong practice, and yeah, I guess it's something that should be given. We should do this more often. We should, because other game companies, right, if they do something similar like this, there would be more backlash, there would be more criticism. But because it's Nintendo, there's not much criticism, which is wrong, right? We should treat every game company equally. We can love them more, but we should judge their decisions fairly to every game company. Right. With that being said, I love Nintendo. I will probably buy the collection, which is, I don't know, man. Will I buy the collection? Because I want to play these games without using an emulator from my PC. I want to be able to play them anywhere, but yeah, I don't know if I would actually purchase the collection. It's sad because there's this limitation. There's not much option that I can take. Right, with that being said, let's end this on a cheerful note. Please subscribe, guys. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers, which is pretty sad for a small chat, for a channel like me. Yes, just 100 subscribers is my goal for the end of the year. I don't think it's feasible at this point, but yeah, please do subscribe, and we'll see you in the next 2 weeks. Goodbye.